Coming up, Victoria and Rich set off on their full-time RV journey 6 months ago. What do they like? What do they don't like? What surprised them?
And most importantly, would they do it all again?
Oh, that's a good one. 6 months ago, we left Denver to embark on our full-time RV journey. We made a conscious decision and planned for like 2 years to be truly full-time. We're not most time, we're not half time, we're not sometime. We are full-time, which means, in case you're not familiar with the term, we don't have a house back in Denver. We don't have a home base. We don't have anything like that. We do have our mailing address in Colorado, but that's about it. And so we want to talk just a little bit before we go into what we like, what we dislike, what surprised us, did we make the right decision, all those things. Talk a little bit about what it means to live truly full time.
We set out to live an unconventional, more intentional life out on the road. And to do that, we wanted to be all in. So we sold it all.
All in is important because I think for us, and you would agree that it's there's that danger, that fear, that of not knowing what's going to happen, that you're not tethered anywhere. And I know we really wanted to feel what that felt like and to live that life, because to us that meant we were the most free.
Yep.
Otherwise we would be like, it would almost be like we were on an extended vacation or something. Don't you think so?
Yeah, and there seems to be a movement right now in kind of the RV world of kind of the not full-timer.
Yeah, the full-timer with a home base, and if that works for you, great. It wasn't something we wanted to do because we did want this to be the ultimate challenge, and as you will hear, it has been the ultimate challenge. So
for sure.
We just wanted to get that out and say we are true full-time, and if you're thinking about going full-time, you have a lot of different options. So just know that this is real full-time.
And just know that we're not going to tell you how you should live your life based on how we live our lives. We've seen a lot of YouTube videos out there, we're not going to mention any names, that really kind of preach their lifestyle and what works for them and how it could work for you also. And that's not what we are about. We are about presenting to you how we live our lives, and perhaps that's a way for you to live your life.
You gain something from that, learn something, go, I'm not doing what those people are doing, or hey, I want to do what those people are doing. So you make your own decisions. We're just here to give you the information. So we're going to break down our first 6 months into what we liked, what surprised us, and what we don't like. And we're going to start off with what we liked. What's one of the first things we really liked about it?
Probably my favorite thing in the world is having a new view out of our window every 3 or 4 weeks. I love it.
Or 2 weeks or 1 week, but mostly 3 or 4 weeks. Yes, I love that. When we were in Denver, we worked from home, and we were remote workers from home. I guess it's still remote, and we still are, and the view never changed. You had this, matter of fact, I didn't even have a view. I was in the basement. Your view didn't change. No. You had a great view. You had some squirrels running around in the backyard.
But the view never changed.
But it was always the same. It was very static. And so that was the one thing we were really, really looking forward to. And we didn't even care if we had a somewhat not so good view. We just wanted a different view. And we've had a few so-so views in
for sure.
But the most have been really, really good. And there's something invigorating about being somewhere new. One of the things for me, when we land and we get all set up, I sit down and I take it all in. We've got the rig all set up. We're in a new place. And I have this feeling of just deep joy that just washes over me, that I'm so happy that we're in a new place. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. I would have never got that if I didn't do this life.
And the one constant is our home.
Always
so this space never changes, regardless of the view outside the door. Our inside space, so we have that sense of belonging and contentment, but yet the outside changes every time. And there's something very freeing about that, about your inside is static, and you know your home, and you have your home with you.
It doesn't change unless you choose to change it.
Unless you choose to change it, but the outside changes.
And I think it's that consistency. We all need consistency in our lives, I think, and I think that's what works for us. It's like, as long as this we have 100% control over, I don't need to have as much control out there. And granted, with an RV, you don't have 100% control over everything, but you have quite a bit.
In my past life, I was in the grocery business for a lot of years. So one of my favorite things to do when we get to a new city is check out the local grocery stores.
It's so much fun. I love grocery stores too. If you don't know, half of our video channel is devoted to cooking videos. If you haven't checked any of those out, please do. They're really kind of fun. And so we both have a love of food and cooking, and combined with your grocery store experience, I mean, one of the greatest things is, where's the nearest grocery store? What does this Kroger look like? Or what do they have here? I mean, we're just a little weird in that regard, but we love doing that. And obviously we couldn't do that if we weren't full-time RVing.
Yeah, and local ingredients. That's,
yeah.
I mean, ingredients that you find in different areas of the country that you don't find in any other areas of the country.
And there's quite a few of them.
There's
if you
a lot
really
of them.
Look. And you learn things about areas based on the types of foods that they stock.
If you really want to break the ice with the locals, ask them where they do whatever. Shop, get gas, buy a drink, have dinner, because they will tell you, and they're excited that you're in their town and they want to share those things with you.
They're like little secrets. So ask a local. Let's start an Ask a Local campaign. I think we're going to make t-shirts say Ask a Local. One of the other things that we really, really love about being in a different city is actually the city itself. I've always been fascinated with, it doesn't even have to be a big city, small cities, towns. I love to look at them and explore them and just kind of get a feel for the area. So obviously we get to do that all the time. And sometimes we get lucky. We're in an area that we can look at multiple cities from the one place that we're staying.
Right. And the little cities are probably some of the most fun. The little towns and townships and some of those are really amazing, and the architecture in some of these little towns.
Oh, some are so old. Still to date, one of my favorite towns that we've seen this year is Geneseo, Illinois. So small, but so cute.
So earlier I talked about living a more intentional life. From your perspective, what does living a more intentional life mean for you?
Well, I think for me it means that I actually choose everything intentionally, which I know that's kind of not really explaining it. A good example would be, I felt when we were living in the house that we were living a lifestyle that was prescribed by somebody else, by society, not,
doing what you were supposed to do.
Yeah. And and when you have a lot of space, you accumulate a lot of stuff, and then you have this thought in your head. It's like, well, I may need that. I may need that. I might need this 3 years from now, and so you start accumulating things. And so now I'm very intentional with what I have. I don't have as many clothes. I think Rich actually has more clothes than I
might
do.
actually have more clothes than you do right now.
I don't have a lot of stuff. Now, let's be clear. We have a lot of kitchen stuff. So I'm going to own up to that. We have a lot of kitchen stuff. But I don't miss my stuff. I don't need all the stuff I had. Oh my God, the amount of stuff we got rid of. And we used to always say, we're not pack rats. We don't have a lot of stuff.
No, it didn't feel like we had a lot of stuff in our sticks and bricks. But when it came to getting rid of stuff,
there was a lot of stuff.
We had a lot of stuff.
Oh my God.
And when you're living in 400 square feet, your stuff has to have a purpose. And if it doesn't have a purpose, it's gone.
And it has to have a place,
and
too.
And it also has to have a place. And it also has to be in that same place every single time.
Yeah.
So things are put away. They're in their space. When you use them, they always go back into their place.
And that's kind of, I like that anyway, so that wasn't something new. But the big question, most people asked us before we left, is like, oh my God, how are you going from 2,400 square feet to 400 square feet? It's going to be too small. It's going to be too tight. What are you going to do with all your stuff? How can you not have your stuff? And it's like, I love it. It's so freeing.
Yeah.
I have only what I need, and I have it with me at all times, which I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
There's a comfort in that.
I think what we found out is, as we talk to people in campgrounds and they find out we're full-time, don't you agree that that's the biggest question that people, what about your stuff? I mean, obviously people's stuff is very important to them. That's the first and number one question that we get.
Yeah, they're like, oh no, we couldn't get rid of our stuff. And then it's like, oh no, my wife needs the house and can't get rid of her stuff. A lot of people blame the wife, I'm not going to lie.
Well, spouses always blame other. We've run into people where the wife has said, oh, the husband can never get rid of his tool shed or the garage.
Whoever doesn't want to RV gets blamed, and that makes sense.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, but yeah, it's a tough thing, and it's not for everybody. You can't will yourself to this. You have to really want it, and we both really wanted it. And if we did this and it didn't work out, we knew that we didn't. It wasn't like we had to do this forever. So
no, you go back.
For all I know, I could have been like, I need my stuff. I miss my stuff, but I'm good. I'm good without my stuff. The third thing we love, like, adore about full-time RVing is the remote working situation. That was probably my only sticking point when we talked about this 2 years prior to leaving.
Absolutely.
I was like, as long as I have internet and internet that's fast enough for me to not change my workflow at all, I'm all in. And so we're very happy to report that we have found a system which involves multiple systems that we've had a few issues, but they haven't been insurmountable at all. And so it makes working very, very easy on the road. And the strange thing is, not strange but cool, is Rich's workstation is almost identical to the workstation he had at the house. He had, how we had it set up, and mine is 100% identical. And so there was no transition there.
No.
I just absolutely love working, being able to work from the road. It's wonderful. And our clients
absolutely love it because I mean we've been remote for what, 4 years now?
Oh, off and on for me for 30 years.
Yeah,
actually.
and one of the cool things about living full time is we now go to our clients.
We do. We
So
get to see them.
we have visited authors in multiple states, in Michigan, in Colorado. We're going to visit an author in North Carolina. We're going to visit an author in Florida when we get down there for the winters. Our clients think it's cooler that we work on the road than we think is cool that we work on the road.
They all think it's very, very cool.
They're always asking us, where are you at? Where are you going? Where are you calling from? It's pretty awesome. It's almost a selling point for our business.
It is, and it's one of the reasons we do the YouTube channel, because our authors are like, where are you? I want to know. I'm like, oh, you can follow along, and it's just really cool. And I think, not to mention, it gives us a wealth of information and experience that we can share with our authors and bring it to the book projects. I think it just makes us completely, value added doing this, and they think it's cool. I do want to mention again about the internet setup. If you are working remotely and you want to do the full-time life, just do your research and make sure that you have a solid internet.
We'll put a link in the description below.
Yeah, but
Max Transit Duo.
Too many words.
Yes.
And so what that means is it allows you to put multiple SIM cards into the modem, and it manages the SIM cards, and it actually will use who has a stronger signal. And I also have, for me, because I'm on a desktop, we have Starlink. I have that connected to the modem, so I can work off of all three depending on what I need. And then Rich, because he's on a laptop, you're using just straight Wi-Fi. 99% of the time he's using Starlink and not being on the other network. And
there's always, although it's not a good option, but there is always the campground Wi-Fi, but that's not something we ever rely on. But occasionally we find ourselves right next to the tower, and we can pull a signal from that. And then also our phones and our iPads.
Which we've never had to utilize.
But they all have their own unlimited connections, and they all have hotspot ability and tethering ability. And I think the key for anybody thinking about remote working or wanting to remote work is backup to your backup to your backup. That's the key. So we have we have 2 SIM cards, Starlink, we have iPads, we have camp Wi-Fi, we have iPads, we have cell phones with their own data plans. So it can be a lot to manage, and it's not inexpensive, but that's the key to, if you have a position where you need to be in contact with your clients day in, day out, every day, you've got to have backup to your backup to your backup.
And for me, it's a peace of mind too. I never want to worry about, is my Zoom call gonna, is it gonna break up? Am I gonna have, bad internet connection? Or that would just drive me crazy. And so it is not, like Rich said, it is not inexpensive, but it is worth it. And for us, it's a business expense, so that makes it a little bit more palatable. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you want to work remotely on the road, the technology is there. So if that's the only thing holding you back from going full time, we can tell you, you got this. It's easy. It's easy to do.
So can we talk about the weather for a second?
Sure, as long as you're talking about 70, 72, and possibly 75.
75 at the most.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time outside. It is one of the things we did in a Sticks and Bricks. We spent a lot of time outside, and we didn't even have that great of an outdoor space.
No, we didn't.
But the weather this past 6 months has been amazing.
Phenomenal. Every night we're outside sitting in our, what do we call that, our second living room, our outdoor living
Our
room.
outdoor living space.
Because we love to sit out there. And so back in Denver, we only got to do that 6 months, not even 6 months out of the year. And now we get to do it all the time because we're chasing 70. We say 70, but I think it's more like 75. Well, we're
72 to 75.
72 to 75. And we were very, very smart, even though we didn't plan it. It just happened this way. And I'm very proud of us for planning this. We spent 6 weeks, was it?
6 weeks, yeah.
In the UP of Michigan, the Upper Peninsula. I don't think we saw an 80 once.
Yep, we did.
One day.
Yeah.
So,
While the rest of the country looked like it was on fire. Yeah, we had one day in the 80s and many nights in the 40s. Now that may scare some of you when you say many nights in the high 40s, but we love it. It was great for sleeping weather.
It's windows open sleeping, and
yes,
we like it really cold when we sleep. But yeah, the weather has been wonderful, and it's allowed us to spend time outdoors. The other thing I think we got to mention about what we really, really like is we actually have a life now. We've talked about how much we work, and we work a lot, and that's not even including all the YouTube stuff that we do. And it seemed back at the house,
we didn't do anything.
We're like, oh, no, I'm too tired. I got to do this.
Right.
I got to do that. But there's this pull when you're in a different location. It's
to do something.
I'm only here for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I've got to go see something. And there's been some locations where we didn't do much because we really had a lot of work to catch up on. But the opportunity is always there, so we feel like we're living.
Yeah,
we're finally living.
Yeah, I think I mean, you know, I'll go back to the bike example. It's like in the evening you're tired, but it's like, oh, I have a new bike trail so I jump on my bike in the afternoon and go for a bike ride. You'll go for a walk or a hike, or we'll go drive somewhere and do something different because there's that pull that gets us away from our desk.
If we had more time, we would do even more than we do. But we feel like we're doing enough, balancing the whole work and adventuring. But
we still have to get better at the whole work-life balance thing.
We do.
We are
let's
working
be clear,
a lot.
We've never been good at that. We
like have not.
We actually like to work too much.
We do.
So.
We have a fun career.
Yes, we do. So those are some of the things that we love, like, and adore about full-time RV living. But what are some of the things that surprised us?
Boy, one of the things that surprised me
What?
is that, and I don't know why I never even thought of this. It's so simple. Almost the whole campground is on vacation, and we're not.
Yes, that was surprising to me too. Most of the time, and I think we were in 1 or 2 campgrounds that might be a little bit different. Everybody's a weekender or they're on vacation. So if you're there for the weekend or you're on a true vacation, you're on vacation. You're not working during the day. You're partying, having a great time. And I think that point was really driven home for us at Camp Dearborn in Michigan, Michigami in the UP.
Most of the Upper Peninsula, because everybody was on vacation there. And that made it somewhat challenging to work during the day because people are out having fun and kids are making noise, which I'm not complaining about the kids making noise because
that means they're having fun.
They're having fun, and the dogs are out and the kids are out.
And the kayaks are going by and the bikes are going by.
And here we are in the rig working our 8-hour shift. And that was something that I was unprepared for. I didn't think about it.
I didn't expect that either, but we're pretty disciplined when it comes to work, and so, but still it's that gnawing. It's like, wait, I want to be able to go out and do that. But so what we do to counter that is because we have such a flexible schedule, and we can pretty much work, if we want to work on the weekends and take 2 days off during the week, we can do that as long as our clients know. We started doing that, we went kayaking on a Tuesday, or we'll go, here or there on a Thursday, and we'll just work a day or so over the weekend.
Yeah, and so that's a really good point. If you're considering this lifestyle, everybody else is doing things on the weekend, so things are more crowded. So because we have that ability to kind of change our schedules around, things are a little bit less crowded. There's a little bit less traffic out during the week, so it makes it, for the full-time lifestyle,
makes it a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot better. We went to Mackinac during the week. We did our Pictured Rocks kayak during the week, and we did some other things too. We actually try not to do touristy things on the weekend or things that would be crowded, and so we do them during the week. So that's a big thing for me. One of the biggest surprises, and this was like out of nowhere.
This was a real surprise for me.
Real surprise for you. Was a real surprise for you?
Yeah, that you.
I know, it's a surprise for me too. In the beginning, I had major travel day anxiety. It was so bad that I had thoughts of I can't do this, but
Which you never let on that they were this bad.
no, I did not
until
either.
we really got into the.
Yeah, and but I really wanted to do this lifestyle, so I found a way to get through it. I'm not going to go into a ton of it here, not because I don't want to, but because I'm going to do a whole video about it, because I think I've seen a little from comments out there from other people, and I don't think I'm alone
No,
with travel
there's
day anxiety.
yeah, there's a lot of it out there.
Yeah, and so I'm going to do a full video of it, and I'll link it below once it's made. It'll probably be about a month or so from now. But you'll want to check it out if you have any travel day anxiety. And I don't think the travel day anxiety is only for the person who isn't driving. I think
No, we've seen. Now, I do not have travel.
no, he hasn't. Thank
It's-
goodness, because we'd be a hot mess if both of us.
Yeah,
did.
because in a previous life, I was in a job as a driver manager, so I did have a CDL and have to drive trucks occasionally. Also full-time in a previous life in a Class A, so I have quite a bit of experience driving big rigs, but I will say I did not have a lot of experience pulling a fifth wheel with a dually truck, but just really
With an anxious wife.
with an anxious wife, which I really had no idea that it was as bad as it was. But I when it comes to travel, I pretty much rolled with the punches. I mean, I fell right into my driving the big rig space pretty easily. So in talking to people on the road, there is a lot of drivers out there who are predominantly the husbands and the males who also have a lot of anxiety
Yes.
when it comes to driving their big rigs. I mean, we had one guy, they were about 6 months in, back 6 months ago when we met them.
yeah.
And he had, every time he gets behind the wheel of his dually truck to pull, they had the same rig we had. He is terrified. He is absolutely terrified. And to me, if you go into that being terrified, mistakes are going to happen and things are going to go bad. So a lot of anxiety that other RVers have shared out there is the breakdown and setup process. Besides travel days, that seems to be one of the most anxious things for people. And that's understandable because when you're setting down or setting up or tearing down, the cost of failure, if you miss something, can be pretty high.
And I think that's where a lot of I had anxiety in multiple areas, again, which I'll talk about. But I think what surprised us is not the anxiety part, that was still there for me, but what surprised us was how easy we got our process together, how quickly we did. Back in April, when we went full time, we spent a month in and around Denver, and we couldn't get like weeks at a time anywhere. So what did we move? 5 times in a month?
5 times in a month, yeah.
And the second time we moved, and mainly because of my anxiety, I'm like, I don't know, why do we have to move so much? Why can't we just stay put? And then it hit me, it's like, this is our training. If we didn't move those 5 times, once we hit the road, we headed east on I-80. We wouldn't have had this experience. We wouldn't have had our process down. So we were very surprised how well the process unfolded.
I think there's 2 reasons for that too, and one is communication. Because we work together, we communicate very well together, and 2 is checking each other. And I think there's a lot of couples out there that use it as a gotcha kind of thing, like, oh, I'm going to find something they didn't do, and that didn't even occur to us because, again, going back to the cost of missing something is high. You can damage your rig, you can get hurt or killed. You can damage yourself, you can damage your equipment. So we go through and check each other. Victoria predominantly does the inside, I predominantly do the outside, and then we switch and walk through and make sure everything's done.
And then there are things that we do together always. We always hitch and unhitch together. We always level, get the jacks down and level, the electric. What's the other thing? Oh, and do the walk around. So there's some things we do together because it's too important. The really important things.
And I think it's important to point out here too is nothing happens if we don't see each other. So I do not lift the rig or lower the rig or hitch or unhitch unless I physically see you, or put jacks down or slides out. Nothing happens unless everybody sees where everybody is at, because once again, cost of failure is high.
Yeah, I mean, we may overcompensate, but I don't care. It works for us.
So we've talked about how amazing this lifestyle is and all the things that we like. They're asking.
What don't we like?
What don't we like? They're asking that.
Yeah, and I can basically say nothing.
Yeah,
we've got a few things on the list. We're going to share those with you, but we were nitpicking. We sat and go, what do we don't like? What do we don't like? And we couldn't really come up with anything major. And so I think we did make the right decision.
yeah, for sure. I mean, we had 2 years to plan, and I think we thought of almost every contingency possible.
Which you can only plan so much.
So much, yeah.
I think the thing we did that was the smartest, and if anybody ever asked me, what do I need to do to get ready for full-time RV life, I would tell them this. Visualize. Visualize how you're going to not just live in your rig, but live in the lifestyle. And can you see yourself in that? And try to run through all the different scenarios that you may know about. I mean, there were things that come up that I never even thought about because I've never lived this lifestyle. But I did a good enough job, I think, to know that I was going to like this lifestyle.
Yeah, planning.
Yeah.
Being okay with going into a town, not knowing where the grocery store is and the gas station is and who's going to cut your hair and where's your doctor. And it's all of those things. And visualize it. Visualize, can you be, in a different state where your doctor's back in your home state? Is that okay with you?
Can you, always not know where things are? Grocery stores. Can you be okay with not knowing where things are in a grocery store? I remember that would drive me crazy back, like if the grocery store changed stuff. Now I'm like, I don't care because you know what? I'm not in as big a hurry as I was before.
Here's a bigger one though. Can you be okay with a grocery store in a very small town that has a very limited selection of products?
Yeah, that might have to add to the not like.
I would say that would be one of the things on the not like list. It doesn't happen often, but it has happened in a couple of very small Upper Peninsula Michigan towns that shall remain nameless that had very small markets.
And you have to improvise, and we learned very quickly if there are certain things that we liked, we would buy them in bulk and store them. Even though we're in an RV, we do have some food storage because of that. Mainly for me, with my my gluten and dairy intolerances. So, okay, so what is you want to go? Do you want me? I have one main thing.
You have the biggest one,
and it's the biggest one.
It's a problem with me too. Okay, so go ahead.
This is literally the only thing I hate. I will use the word hate. It is the left door on the refrigerator.
It's that thing over your shoulder.
Yeah, over there. There's not enough room for it to swing all the way open.
Yeah,
and
there's
it
not enough room.
doesn't swing wide enough that it will stay open, and it's a heavy door. I'm going to come up with something where I can hold it, like wrap it around the door.
Yeah, we have to
handle
come
or
up with something.
But look, that's really the only thing. It drives me crazy every time I open it. I'm going to have to come to peace with it, and I think I have to some degree. But that literally is the only thing I hate.
I have one thing.
That you hate or don't like?
I don't like.
Okay.
So being in 400 square foot, we talked earlier about everything being in its place.
Yeah.
One of the things that can be fairly annoying is sometimes you have to move 3 things to get the one thing and then put the 3 things back.
And then bring them out again when you got
to put the one thing back. And then bring them out again when you have to put the one thing back that you got. Now, it's an annoyance.
But it's not a hatred.
But yeah, it's something that I'm personally dealing with. It's like everything has its place.
I'm personally dealing with it.
Everything has its place, and everything always has to be in its place. Otherwise, you have your 400 square feet is a mess. So.
Yeah, and it's like that, especially in the kitchen and especially in storage. Always pulling out 2 or 3 things to get to know, the thing that you want, and I've come to terms with that. I think we both have. But if you ask for a list, I'm going to give you a list, and that's going to be on it, right?
Yep. So probably the only other thing I have on my list is RV toilet paper.
It's expensive.
That stuff's expensive. And I will say we are proponents of using RV toilet paper. We want to preserve our RV sanitation system.
It's very important to us.
I believe
RV sanitation.
I believe it's a necessary evil. But darn it, that stuff's expensive.
It is, but now in the last couple times we bought it, we found a 12-pack. It used to be an 8-pack, and the 12-pack is cheaper, so it's getting better. But it's still expensive.
Yes.
Okay, the only other thing I have that I don't like is I paint outside. And I really don't like when the bugs land on my canvas when I'm painting. That sounds so petty, but we were stretching here for for don't like.
And every place has its own unique bugs, by the way.
Oh, and it does. The bugs.
Every region of the country has different bugs.
They do, and I actually find that fascinating. So that's another thing. If you're thinking about living full-time in an RV and you hate bugs, you may want to rethink that decision. Or if you still want to do it, you have to come with a bug eradication plan. Come up with one, figure out how you're going to deal with it. Because even if you don't like something, if you know in advance that you're going to encounter it and you have a plan to deal with it, then you should be okay. But there are bugs. There are bugs on top of bugs, bugs you've never seen before. Bugs get in places. I mean, I'll be, looking at a wall and it's like, there's a little bug crawling. It just goes with
they're all over the
territory.
place.
Yeah.
Yep. So the big question is, did we
make the right
did
decision?
we make the right decision?
Oh yeah, I would do
Without
this again.
without question.
For sure, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a 3 to 5 year plan of being on the road, and we're on the road.
I'm loving it.
3 to 5 years. Yeah, it's
completely loving it.
Despite the challenges, and we've got some challenges coming up. You'll see those coming up real soon. That it's just part of the lifestyle, and you have to be able to roll with the punches.
Yeah, I mean, things happen when you're in a sticks and bricks. I mean, it's life. It's just a different way to live life, and I think this is the greatest decision you and I have ever made.
For sure.
On my deathbed, I'm going to be remembering all the amazing things that we did, and I'll never be able to. I never will say I wish I could have. Or I wish I should have, because we did, and I think that's really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
No regrets whatsoever. We took the plunge.
Well, thanks so much for watching. We hope we inspire you to explore your RV adventure, whether that's full-timing, part-timing, weekending, whatever that looks like for you. Again, we're going to share with you what works for us, and we hope we can inspire you in some way.
Yeah, and thank you so much for watching. If you haven't given us a thumbs up, please do. That really helps us out. And if you haven't subscribed, you don't want to miss when we have another video. So go ahead and do that and hit that notification bell so you actually get the notifications. And until next time,
Happy exploring.